I grew up in Denmark, a tiny little village called Breining. It's this tiny little village in Denmark, really close to the sea. And that sort of area, when I got a little bit older, we moved to a bigger city, 50,000 people maybe there, called Fredericia. And that's when I sort of started school and the whole thing sort of began. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, 200-300 people, tiny little place. There was no mobile phones, there was no, there was no internet, there was no nothing. And there was like 3 of us, and all we did was just ride around on our BMX bikes in the forests, and mopeds later on. But like, it was all just, it was like you see an ET film or something. That that's exactly what it was. 3 dudes driving around on BMXs in this tiny little village, just playing in the forest, going into old derelict buildings and just being boys, just playing with sticks and having knives and just proper country boys, Where we first grew up, I can't remember any of that, I grew up in kind of a collective with like 3 couples, and I think I was probably one of the first children to be born, my parents, and hippies, proper hippies. And, I always seem to remember my mum and dad having like record players, big record collection, Beatles, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Leonard Cohen. I mean, all of the stuff that they were listening to, when they grew up. All that music that you can think of, I always remember that being there. My dad they were very into their music, Clapton and all of it, There was always a guitar in the house, I remember, but when we were that little, it was just more about putting crayons into it and shaking it, and then looking in, see what colors there was, rainbow, and then the colors inside it. So there wasn't much playing going on there. I wasn't interested in the guitar when I was really, really young, not till later on, but yeah. But music just has always been there. I don't think it's never not been a part of it. Like always in the background, some kind of music going on. Later on, when we moved to Fredericia, which is a bigger city, and I started in another school, which is like a free school, tiny little school, 50 students in the whole school, And when I started there, it was more about finding what the child was into, So in my case, I was obviously had some kind of, I was drawn to music and stuff, and others were drawn to art, and others were good at maths. But the teachers had time, and they could hone in on what the child needed. And I've got the music thing, and they were just giving me the key to the music room. Just go and play when you're not, you're off or whatever. But I remember when I was been like 11 or something, and we were at this student parent camp somewhere at the sea. They've hired something, and all the parents were there, all the teachers and the kids were there, and there was just a guitar sitting around, and I just picked it up, and one of the other dads came in and was like, "Oh, can you play guitar?" I don't know. It was like, here's an E chord, here's an A chord, and here's D, and here's B, And I just went, and next thing you know, I was like, I sort of picked it up really quickly, and I think he sort of realized that, oh, hang on, Pete just played, Peter just played that guitar, and then he went to my parents and said, can I give him some lessons? Come to me, and that was how it kind of started for me when I was about 11. So it was music was there all that time when I was really little, but it wasn't until I was 11 where I actually got to pick the guitar up, and I found its way into that's my thing, So that was quite interesting. And then I went to him and I got some lessons. The first song I really learned was Blackbird, at 11. Blackbird, and I was like, wow, you can play that. That was quite. So I had some lessons with him, and then one of my parents' other friends, who's passed away now sadly, but he was a proper guitar teacher, and he then started giving me lessons. That was the beginning of it all, sort of thing. I do believe that when we're born with a sort of genes from we all these different parts from parents or grandparents and family members, past the ages and the time, just being put into this little melting pot, and there you are, And I think they get lost when parents try to push their children in some ways that the children might not want to, in a way. Maybe I'm just lucky that I found the talent. I do believe that everyone has something they're good at, whatever it might be. Everybody's good at something, but most people never really find it. I think they maybe miss out on that, because life gets in the way, and you have to grow up, and you have to have an education, and you have to get a job, and you have to pay bills, and then you have to buy a house, and then, it's almost like you get all of these blinkers on, and you just have to go one way. And a lot of parents put those blinkers on their children instead of just going, here you go, and then you just help them along like a shepherd, herding their sheep, and let them do whatever they need. And I think that's what my parents did to me, and I found that that's just it, And I've never really. It was just always kind of natural, with the rhythm and the melodies and the way I could sing. Well, I remember being very little in kindergarten, and it was funny because when we were eating lunch, I would sing. I would chew my songs. I would do that, but like a drum beat. I would do that all the time, and I would sing songs, but with my. I would do that while I'm chewing my food. And the only other person I've ever heard that was Dave Grohl in his book, when he was saying he went to the dentist, and I did exactly the same thing. Went to the dentist and the dentist was like, "What are you doing with your teeth?" And I'm like, "I'm doing I do drum beats with it." And that was really early on. It must have been like 3 or 4 or something. Madness, And they were like, he does that. So obviously, even earlier, there was still something there. And I was in my first band when I was 13, because I had a couple of good friends, Per and Henrik, in school, and they were a bass player and a drummer, and we started jamming already then, And the teachers at the school and the headmaster just gave us the keys to the school, so we could go when the school was closed into the music room and just play. That was the kind of school it was. It was like, can we go and rehearse tonight at the school, or on Sunday, on Saturday? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, here's some keys, boom, off you go. So we just went in there and played, And so we did gigs first gigs when I was 13, and then 14, and then we started, being driven around by my parents, and, I had a little bike when I made my trailer on the back there, put my little Marshall valve state in there, and then went to do pub gigs, at 14, when it was all right to go, nobody asked any questions. It was like, if you wanted to go and buy beers and cigarettes when you were 14, when I was 14, your mum and dad would go, can you go and buy beers and cigarettes down the because we're all drunk already, here's some money, and you just went, I need this. Nobody asked the question, back in the day. I think, it just progressed really, sort of really quickly, and it was really natural to me, I've never not played guitar since then. It's always been, I cannot not sit and not have a guitar at some point during the day, When I was 16, in Denmark, it's like you get out of, the school is 10 years, and then you can go to college. I guess it's like here, you go to college when you're like 16. I had to go and do like an entrance exam or something, at this music college thing. And I went there, and I can remember just going, your theory is awful, and you're all this stuff, but you play really well. So we would like to give you a space here. So I went to sort of a music academy for like 3 years, and I think being 16, it might have been a little bit too early. I think maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe if I'd waited 2 or 3 years, I would have got a bit more out of it than a 16-year-old who thinks he's great at guitar. Oh hey girls, but it just led me to play guitar and do that, not wanted to do anything else, basically. Saying that, I've always worked. I've always had a job beside my music, so I could pay I mean, I left when I was 17. I moved out when I was 17. So I've always had jobs so I could pay my bills and my rent and all the other things and music. So I could buy guitars and I could, that was the more important thing until music became, the whole sort of, now I'm making my money out playing guitars. But when there wasn't anything, I always had a job. And I was still just gigging. I was out there gigging as much as I could in this little town, Fredericia. Made some friends at the music college, and we started gigging, started doing like we had a Tower of Power tribute band, I had my guitar all the way up here, playing jazz licks and, HSS, listen to Robin Ford, Larry Carlton, Mike Stern, all of that stuff that everybody told me to listen to at this college. It's all about the jazz. I had an amazing teacher in Enrico Rosa, and he was he could play bebop jazz like nobody else, And it was all like, let's play Donna Lee. When it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody in the room just but then it was like, let's play it reverse in the circle of fifth, but from your head. And people are playing it, and you just see people falling off. I was falling off in the first 4 bars. I'm off, I couldn't, it wasn't really my thing, the whole jazzy. I felt like it was amazing for the people who wanted that. But for me, I just felt like I wanted to learn, I wanted to have my own thing. So that was a little bit, I felt like it was like a factory. I was going to come out on the other end, and you're going to be playing jazz, and then you're going to have a certificate saying you can be a teacher, and But it's a little bit like getting a driver's license. And then now you've got your driver's license, here's the keys to the car. Now go and learn driving, because you can't drive till you start doing it, It's the same like being a musician until you're out there and realize what it's like. You don't know what it is. It's in people's heads. They think, I've got a certificate saying I'm a musician now. But not really, because you're 18 years old and you got no idea still. So yeah, but yeah, it was a weird experience. But I did get a lot out of it. But probably mainly I figured out what I really wanted to do. But that's what I get back to that, where I think I was a little bit too young to still figure out what I wanted. And then I got an opportunity to move to Copenhagen. There was a room available in Copenhagen. And off I went from Fredericia to Copenhagen in my car. And this was pre-sat-navs or anything. I had no idea where I was going. I just got an address, And, I'm just driving in there. Luckily, I had a friend, Casper, over there. And I was like, I don't know where I am. Can you come and get me? So he came in his car and got me and helped me go to where I needed to go. I got all the stuff in. And I can't remember if it was on that day or the next day. We went down to this jam in Copenhagen, something called Lades Keller at the time, which was like a basement where people were jamming every Monday and, just gigs. And I remember going down there with my guitar and just having a jam. And next thing I knew was people going, oh, hey man, can I get your phone number? And do you want to come and do a gig? And then I had gigs the next weekend. And it was all kind of just weirdly mapped out in a way, And I'm not a religious guy, but there's a spiritual thing, and I do think there is when you do something, one thing will open something, you'll go a different way. But I'm sure there's a reason why I'm here now, why I'm sitting in this room and I'm where I am, because I just followed that rabbit. Oh, I'll go over here. Okay, let's go over here. That's fine, And next thing I know, I was in Copenhagen, and I was living there, and people were asking me to gig, and I was doing well, and it was fun, But at the same time, I worked, in a warehouse making exit lamps. I worked in a kindergarten, I've done loads of different stuff, I've always had a newspaper around when I was little. I've never shied away from actually having a job. I think that's important. Some musicians, and I get that you're passionate about it, but if you can't eat and pay the bills, then I know you're this person, but you also have to make sure that you pay your bills. But so that was it, and it just took off from there. Met the right people at the right time. The bigger gigs started coming in. I started working with some in 2002. I worked with some pop stars. That's when pop stars kicked off, you know. It kicked off here, kicked off in Denmark, and I worked with an artist called Julie, which she was second, I think, in the pop stars. But I also remember in 2002, I was working in a call center for a. This is what I mean. This all random stuff, how these things come, and I'm doing these tours and I'm doing gigs at the same time. And I remember moving another place in Copenhagen, and this is the first time DSL comes out, you know, like proper broadband internet. I remember from having dial-up modems to having ISDN, and then all of a sudden this company called CyberCity announced that they were branching out from, you know, like BT, but this was a new company, and you can get DSL, as it was called at the time, for like 20 quid a month, and it's 256 gigabytes up and down or whatever, but megabits, like really slow. And I remember calling them up going, "Oh, can I have this? I want this in my new flat, you know." And then it was like, "You can have that." And I said, "Have you got any jobs? Can I get a job with you guys?" And they were like, yeah, we need people. So I went and got a job at this place. And I remember sitting at this, you know, calling around or whatever. I was like I did lots of stuff in there anyway. But so I remember sitting in this place, and I was seeing this girl who was here sitting next to me. We ended up, you know, having a little thing. And her ex-boyfriend was here, working there as well. It's like a little bit sort of weird, and he had his cousin just did a song with. She was called Angelina, and she just did a song for the Big Brother song in Denmark when they first came out with a guy called DJ Encore. This is completely random stuff, man. And so we're talking, and he's his cousin, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, I think they need a guitar player for something. Would you be interested in doing that?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So hook me up, you know. They called me up and go, "Yeah, we're doing this little tour in America, and we just need, you know, the DJ, the singer, and then just a guitar player to stand there and rock out, you know." So we ended up going to America back in 2002, and, you know, flying around and doing gigs, and, you know, met Shakira and P. Diddy, and, you know, doing all these crazy stuff. And it turned out that the manager there, the manager of this DJ Encore and Angelina Big Brother single, random, he was the manager of Aqua at the same time, right? And there was a drummer called Gary Wallace who was coming over to do some producing and recording, and he's like, "Oh, Gary's here, and he's going to do some stuff, and he needs a guitar player. Do you want to go and do some recording for him?" And they came out to see a gig I was playing with some of my friends. I meet this guy Gary. He's a drummer. He's drummed for Pink Floyd, everyone, you know. He's like, "You want to come and do some stuff?" "Yeah, okay." Go out there. And I'm helping him, playing lots of guitar for him while he's in Denmark producing albums and other things. And then he goes, "Oh man," I go like, "If you need a guitar player in the UK at some point, just give me a call." You know, like, that's never gonna happen. So anyway, so I'm doing a Madonna tribute band somewhere, setting up my gear, and I get a phone call. I'm setting up my gear and stuff. I get a phone call. "Hey, it's Gary, man. You know, do you fancy coming over doing a gig with me?" This is 2003, just the beginning of whatever. In the UK, man, it would be really cool to have you over. I think it would be really good for this gig. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I would love that. That would be brilliant." And I was like, "It's Tom Jones at the Brit Awards, 2003. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It was almost like one of those, "Yeah, he's taking the piss. He's just joking, you know." It's like, "No, it's cool. Do you want to do it?" It's like, "Absolutely." Still thinking, "Yeah, this is," you know. So yeah, here's my email. I'll send you an email and get back, and I'll send you an email with all the details, and just get back to me with your passport stuff, and we'll work it out, you know. So I'm like, "Yeah, fine, okay, yeah, see you, let's speak later, bye." And I'm thinking, no way in a million years is this Danish guitar player, this guy from Denmark who just plays gigs and, you know, play festivals and all that stuff, but not, you know, is going to end up doing Brit Awards with Tom Jones in 2000. No, and he's up for a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's like, no way. Anyway, get home after the gig, not think about it, open up my computer, and there's an email from Gary and from the tour manager going, hey Pete, nice to meet you, so here's the itinerary, and we just need your stuff, and then we book you a plane ticket. I'm still thinking, this is just not happening, this is completely surreal. So I get I get the plane ticket, I go out to the airport, and there's my plane ticket, and they're like, there's a guy waiting for you on the other side, in Heathrow when you land. And we've booked the hotel and all that stuff, and I'm just thinking, it's all taking a piss. This is just, I'm on candid, whatever, I'm on prank call camera, whatever. So I get out there, and then there's a ticket, and I come out the other side and Heathrow, and there's a guy with my name on it. Hello, Peter. So anyway, so I get in there, and this is Music Bank. I don't know if you ever heard about Music Bank, massive rehearsal studios. It closed down now, I think, and this setup with like 5 brass people, percussion player, Gary, massive drum kit, bass, another guitar player, and there's just me walking in there and a guy going, hey, I'm Neil, I can't remember. I'm your guitar tech, where's your guitars, And I was like, okay, and it's so surreal, this whole thing. And I just remember playing when they start but up the first time, I'm still getting goosebumps thinking that it was such a surreal experience. There it was. That was the first big sort of thing that happened, And still thinking about it now, it could have been anyone else, I was just there at the right time at the right place, And obviously they liked me because they called me back after that, But yeah, pretty surreal. We had to play, a medley of songs, and we then have to play afterwards. After the cameras turned off, we did like 4 or 5 songs afterwards, and it was super surreal. And that was the beginning of the relationship I had with Gary, and he just kept calling me over to do stuff, So that was the beginning of that, the big career, if you will, And I felt like I didn't really belong because I was really young. It was a little bit intimidating, but they were all really welcome. They were welcoming, and even the other guitar player was super welcoming. And he did the gig for years and years and years, and they were all just really welcoming, and it was really nice Gary gave me a chance, of bringing me into something that was huge, and that he gave it forward to me, and I do that now. As much as I can, I help people out because it didn't cost him anything. He believed in me. He thought I was a good guy, I was a good player, and he thought I was ready to do it. And then the first tour in the UK was Atomic Kitten. I mean, most of the people that are watching this might not even know who that is, right? But they were, a big girl band at the time, and for me it was like, my God, they had these hits, and I did we were in a bus, man, and we were in a big rehearsal room, man, and we did arenas, 20,000 people, and for me, it was just like, this was proper gigging, Gave me that opportunity, I could have messed that up, I could have not played well, I could have been an idiot, I could have been, all sorts of stuff, but he then kept calling me back, Then we did Girls Aloud in 2005, and again, it was the first tour with this band, and it was great to see it was amazing to. That's where I met my wife. She was a makeup artist. I play guitar, which then led me to move over into the UK in 2006. I turned down a tour over here, big one. Gary asked me for a tour, and I said no, thank you, because it's not my. It was Il Divo at the time. I don't know if it's like a pop opera, and I didn't think it was me, and I turned that down. You know, it was like, who turns down a world tour with someone? And then I worked in the pizzeria when I moved over, and then Gary called me back in 2007. Said, you know, the other guitar player was a great guy, but he was late for rehearsals, he was late for bus calls, he played the stuff that they didn't want, he was overplaying and all sorts of stuff. Can you come and do it, you know? I was like, okay, I'll do that. Straight into playing nylon string classical guitar with opera singers, and I'd never done that before, but let's have it, you know. It felt like it was a bit surreal, you know, because all of a sudden you get a message saying, oh, we are doing rehearsals in Kuala Lumpur for 3 weeks. All my gear gets flown out there, and I fly out there, and then there we are in a rehearsal room, and then we do a rehearsal, and then the first start of this world tour is like, world tour? Why? Who am I? This Danish dude that played, you know, who played in pubs, but now I'm doing a world tour and rehearsing in Kuala Lumpur. It's like, so it was quite surreal, the whole thing. But I felt like, because the guys that was in the band, they were the ones that I started with, and Gary and Toby and Chris and Alex, it organically came. We were the same people on all these gigs, you know. So it was kind of natural, and they became friends, and we are friends, and you know, it was like a little family. Touring is something completely different from what people think it is, you know. You also have to wash your underwear in the sink, and you know, you're missing home. People do think it's glamorous going on a tour, and they think you're a millionaire and drive around Ferraris and all sorts of stuff. It's not that glamorous. I mean, a normal touring day is waiting. As Keith Richards says, they don't pay me to play guitar, because I'll do that for free any day. They pay me to wait around. They pay me to wake up in a hotel, wait till bus call, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, depending on whenever, going to the venue, maybe doing a sound check, maybe not, depending on what it is, because a lot of times maybe they'll set up and you know exactly what it, and you literally go and put your ears in and just play the gig when you need to, no sound check at all, you know. So you go, and then you go to the band room, you go to catering to have your supper, you get a drink, you go on stage, play for an hour, 2 hours, get off, get in a tour bus, go back to the hotel. That's a normal kind of day, you know. So the waiting is what you do most, and traveling. You know, I think you did 70 flights in a year or something. You know, you get on a flight to some place, and then do a gig, stay in a hotel, get on a plane, fly to another place, blah blah blah. And it's just the same. And you live in a suitcase. You know, you are washing your underpants in the sink, or going to the local washing, you know, laundrette or whatever. It's not super glamorous, but it's super fun, you know. You have fun, and you're with your friends, and you get a lot of time to self-reflect, you know, when you're sitting in a bus or in a hotel, or, you know, there's a lot of alone time as well, you know. So I met my wife in 2005, and she was the makeup artist for Girls Aloud, and she's been doing makeup for a while. So for a while before that, she used to do Kylie, and, you know, she was working with lots of people that I work with in the same sort of boy band, girl bands and all that stuff. We were doing the tour for Girls Aloud, and we did the rehearsal and the production rehearsal. And then I met her first time on the bus, tour bus, and I was like, I have to kiss this girl, because see, there was just some instant connection, and that was it basically. And we've been together ever since 2005, and we got married in 2006, had a child in 2007. So it was just like, and luckily she comes from the same sort of touring background, so she understands that that's what we do to make the money and stuff. It's difficult to have children and leave them as you have a child and you go on tour for a month, 3 days later, or a week later, you know. But here we are. Now we've got 3 girls, 15, 14 and 8. So in 2015, so I did a tour in Germany with a German artist called Helene Fischer, and Chloe was pregnant with our third child, and the shine went off the touring because we were doing rehearsals, and we were supposed to go into production rehearsals, and she was supposed to give birth, and the tour and the artists, they were lovely, and they moved some of the production rehearsals and the rehearsals because they knew that I was going to have a baby in this period, hopefully, but it never happened. So I had to go to Germany and start the tour. So I was on FaceTime watching Scout get born from a hotel room in Düsseldorf, and that's when it was just like I need to have a break from this, because you miss a lot of stuff when you're on a tour, and with kids' first steps or all that stuff. The tour flew me from Hanover or something to I met her in the airport for the first time, and then had like 24 hours, and then flew straight back to the tour, and then I didn't see her for like 3 weeks, and it was really tough, But so I did that tour, and I came back, and I'd done some videos, coming down to Anderson's, doing a couple of videos with Lee and Rob, and they always go, you should come and work for her, you should come and do this, and I've been, I'm a tour musician, I'm not going to need this.
Salutations, I'm Rob Chapman.
I'm the captain.
And we're at Anderton's.
And who's this?
That's Peter.
It's Peter!
The Andertons had their own YouTube channel, and the stuff that Lee and Rob did all went on Rob's channel at the time. All the Andertons content went on his channel, and Lee had this YouTube channel sitting, and I think there was like 40,000 subscribers or something. And he wanted somebody to take the helm of that, and he approached me and said, I want to do that, and we'll give you a job with a salary. And it was like, oh my God. And we lived in Ripley at the time, it was literally down the road from Guildford. So I was like, absolutely, I would love to do that and just try to take a break from touring. It wasn't so much of an adjustment because we were still playing guitars, but I had to learn. It's like, here's some cameras. I was like, what am I going to do? So I was looking on YouTube, what is other people doing? And, I went down to B&Q and I bought some stuff, and I painted the walls, and I put, wallpaper off of bricks in the background because I'd seen a Premier Guitar magazine, they had that. And, I tried to do it all myself. Just went in on it, full whack. I remember the first videos I recorded was at the old video room in the warehouse. And I recorded 10 guitar videos in a day and edited them up, and they were like ready. So like they were top shelf guitar stuff. And then I did some pedals, and it sort of organically just grew from there. But the whole thing, the first year, just went 900% up the whole YouTube channel. It was like boom, and everyone was like, wow. I didn't have any idea this channel here would become so big. I didn't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to have lots of followers on Instagram, and I'm going to have a purple guitar, and I'm going to have a signature pedal. It was never any of that. For me, it was like, I'm going to have a PAYE salary every month that's going to come in, and I don't have to worry about the tax, and it's a normal job. I'm playing more guitar now than I did when I was touring. Because all your gear is just being somewhere, and somebody sets it up for you, and maybe you got a guitar on the bus when you're in a tour bus, maybe you got one in your hotel room, whatever, but I play more guitar now than ever before. We get about 4 million views a month, something like that maybe. And you think, if you divide it up by 80,000, that's a lot of stadium gigs, So we actually probably play to more people, I'm out there to more people, but it's my face that's out there. When you're on tour, you are in the background, occasionally you get to do a guitar solo, but it's never about you, it's about the artist. And you have to remember that as a guitar player as well. It's not about you, it's about the artist. So don't start playing a solo over this bit, or play if you need to play D, G and C all the time for this whole song, that's all you're doing, You have to be aware that you can't be out there and then standing there and then doing your own thing, because, you keep that for your own stuff, and I think that some artists, I can tell when I've been on the stage looking and somebody played something and they look around going, really? Are you sure? Don't just, until they come and ask you, can you play a little bit more on that part there? And yeah, absolutely, how about this? Yeah, that's fine. but don't, because you can step over the edge. But yeah, no, I never knew that it was going to take us to this thing. But and with all of those people watching, and and it went pretty fast. It was pretty quick that it sort of took off. In the beginning, and then we got Rob's videos on this channel as well, and there was a lot of learning curves with, we used C700 Canons in the beginning, and I had no idea how to. I was in an iMovie first, but it's become a big old thing now, But it's I went to do a Birmingham guitar show, and people turn up. I had a little masterclass there for Chapman Guitars, and I had like 300 people or whatever, 250 people in this room. They're full of people, and I'm still like, why you come to see me? It's really weird. It's a weird thing, but there must be, I don't know, maybe they like me or not, but it's really cool to see. As I say to people, when we are filming here, we're looking at cameras, and there's 3 cameras and an overhead, 4 cameras, whatever, and there's just some red lights and us or Taylor's there to film, and that's all we see. And then we see some numbers, on the YouTube analytics. We never see any faces. So it's really nice when people come up and go, I watch your videos and I really enjoy it. Or, people say, you've helped me out. I'm going through a tough time with whatever. And I watched your videos and it's really get me through this really tough time. Or it's really nice to when people say that, I've been lusting a bit after going out on tour again. I feel it's been a while now, since 2016. I did my last, or the end of 15, I did my last tour, and I would love to go out and do something again, playing some music, getting the vibe on.